Hey guys, for this video, we're going to do two-step equations with distributive property. So if you look at this problem, we're going to still, just like we've been doing, draw our line straight down at the equal sign. So think about what's happening with the -2. It's being multiplied, okay? So you could distribute it to both parts to get rid of it and then solve it. That would be fine. Or a little bit easier way is to go ahead and start and dividing by the -2. Again, think about its multiplication, so then the inverse would be divided by -2. So then on the left, we're going to end up with 0 equals, and then we now have -8 plus p. So we're just basically getting rid of this part first instead of distributing to both parts. Again, you very much could distribute it to both parts and get 0 equals 16 minus 2p, and then solve that two-step equation. Again, you'll get to the same answer. So at this point, then, we have to get rid of the -8 or -8. So we're going to do the inverse, and we're going to add 8 to both sides. We end up with 8 on this side equals p as our final answer. Again, I'm going to go ahead and solve it this way just so you can see it. I would subtract 16, which would make -16 equals -2p, divide by -2 on both sides, and get +8 equals p, same thing. Again, you can either distribute first, or you can go ahead and get rid of that -2 by doing the inverse, which would be division. So checking out this one, I'm going to go ahead and start. I'm going to get a different color. Never mind, I'm just going to go ahead and draw it. And we're going to try and get rid of this part first. So thinking about what my inverse would be to divide both sides by -3/10. So then we have n minus 1.4. So then if you kind of do it out to the side, 4.8 divided by 0.3, slide baby slide, raise the roof, 3 goes into 4 one time, 1 left over, 3 goes into 18 6 times. So we have 16. Then we're going to add 1.4 to both sides, line up that decimal. So therefore n equals 17.4. Again, you could have distributed this and then solved it. Either way would be fine. Why don't you go ahead and try this one and then come back and check it. So what I would do is try and get rid of this 7/10. So I'm going to divide both sides by 7/10. We can go ahead and do that out. 6.3 divided by 7/10. Of course, we're going to slide baby slide, raise the roof, goes in 9 times. So we have 9 on the left equals 9 plus k. Or subtract 9 from both sides. K then equals 0. Go ahead and try this one. Notice that the number on the outside that's being distributed is on the outside. So what you can do is distribute it kind of backwards, I guess you could say, or kind of switch it around. Or again, just get rid of that 5/10 first. Go ahead and try it and then come back and check it. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this 5/10. Love a good slide baby slide today. Raise the roof, goes in 5 times. 5 minus r. Okay, so this is an interesting one. I really want you to watch this. So remember, technically this is a +5. So I'm going to minus 5 from both sides. So then I get 0 equals -r. But again, we don't want r to be negative, so we're going to divide both sides by -1, because really we have our invisible 1 here. I know that it ends up equaling the same thing, that r just equals 0. But I really want you to remember that, because sometimes that may not be the case. So if you ever end up with a negative variable at the end, that's really a -1 times the variable. So you have to do the inverse, which would be division for that. So for this one, it's going to be a little bit different because technically this is a -1. So again, you could distribute it to both parts, or we can get rid of it. So let's go ahead and divide both sides by -1. So then we would get 4p minus 12 equals negative 28. Yep. One positive, one negative. Then we're going to add 12 to both sides. So then 4p equals -16. Divide both sides by 4, and p equals -4. On the next slide, I'm actually going to show you, or the next, I'm going to click over and go ahead and do it with the distributive way to kind of show you the other option. So for this one, p minus 12 equals 28. So if I distributed that to both parts, okay, so that would become -4p plus 12 equals 28. I'm going to subtract 12 from both sides. We get 16, divide by -4, and we're still going to get p equals -4. So see how you can distribute it to both sides and solve it? Or again, you can get rid of what's being multiplied, which for this case was a -1. I hope you enjoyed this video on distributing with two-step equations.